Welcome to the Howard County Citizens Election Fund Training Overview. Today, we will be covering a wide range of topics about this program. Today's topics include a brief overview of the Citizens Election Fund program, available resources, the participation progress, types of contributions, and any applicable requirements. The second part of the presentation will discuss how to file reports through MD-CRIS and provide additional information on disbursements and other pertinent information. Please note that the attached deck has built-in hyperlinks to allow for easy navigation of this presentation for future reference. The Howard County Citizens Election Fund is a voluntary program for small donor financing for candidates running for county executive or county council member positions. The fund was established to provide an option for candidates to receive matching contributions for qualified donations from individuals. This program reduces the role of large private contributions and involvement of special interest groups to focus on gaining community support. The Citizens Election Fund of Howard County has multiple resources at your disposal for candidates, for the public, and for other stakeholders to know more about the program. We recommend you constantly use these vital resources and review our webpage for updates. Most of the information contained in today's presentation can be found in the summary guide located on the Citizens Election Fund website. On this webpage, you will also find FAQs that will be updated frequently. Be sure to check back often for updates. The Maryland Campaign Reporting Information System, commonly referred to as MD-CRIS, is where most campaign finance actions will originate. Visit the State Board of Elections website for more information on how to use MD-CRIS, to access the MD-CRIS user manual, view an MD-CRIS overview video, and to register for a training seminar. This program covers 6 offices that are eligible to participate in the program: county executive and 5 district council member offices. To be eligible to participate in the Citizens Election Fund program, a candidate must be a county resident who is running for county executive or county council member and be certified by the State Board of Elections in either a primary or general election. Here you will see an outline of the 2022 election cycle deadlines. Distribution period, November 23rd, 2022. This is the period during which the county distributes public contribution from the fund to a certified candidate. The period begins 365 calendar days before the primary election and ends 15 calendar days after the date of the general election. Qualifying period, May 14th, 2022. This is the period during which a candidate may submit receipts to the Board of Elections to become a certified candidate. The period begins on January 1 following the last election and ends 45 calendar days before the primary election. Receipt submission period, June 28th and November 8th. This is the period during which a qualified candidate may submit receipts to the Board of Elections to receive public contributions from the fund. Submissions are due no later than 11:59 p.m. on primary election or general election day. Candidate filing notice of intent, February 22nd, 2022. Candidates must file a notice of intent with the Board of Elections no later than 9 p.m. on the last Tuesday in February in the year in which the primary election will be held. Candidate filing certificate of candidacy, February 22nd, 2022. Candidates must submit a certificate of candidacy with the Board of Elections no later than 9 p.m. on the last Tuesday in February in the year in which the primary election will be held. This is for the candidate to appear on the ballot. The first step to participate in the program is to register a public finance committee through the MD-CRIS. At the time of registration, you have to file a notice to qualify for public contributions. A notice of intent to qualify for the program must be filed with the Maryland State Board of Elections via their electronic filing system no later than 9 p.m. on the last Tuesday in February in the year in which the primary election will be held. The period to initiate qualification is also known as the notification period. For the 2022 election cycle, a candidate can file a notice of intent until February 22nd, 2022. This slide shows the documents required for registration, including the notice of intent, the statement of organization, the appointment of chairman and treasurer, and some other important legal notices. The statement of organization, along with the appointment of chairman and treasurer, will be used when you open up your bank account. The notice of intent lets the state and the county know your intent to participate in the program. These forms will be generated by MD Chris based on your input. The information requested only has to be entered once. Once approved by the State Board of Elections, an email will be sent to all committee members, the candidate, the chair, and the treasurer. Be sure to check your junk and/or spam folders to ensure that the State Board of Elections is a safe sender. If you do not receive the email within 24 hours, please contact the MD Chris Help Desk. Once the email is received, the three members will receive temporary passwords to log into MD Chris. You will each then choose your own unique password. We do not keep passwords. If you forget your password, use the Trouble Logging In feature on the program. If at any point during your campaign you have to edit your registration, meaning you have to change your chairman or treasurer or your bank account information, this can be done through MD Chris. On the left-hand side, once you log in, you can see Edit View Registration Information. There, it will take you to the screen where you will be able to select and make sure you can enter in all the changes necessary. Please note, if there are any changes to the campaign bank account, you should notify the County Department of Finance as soon as possible to determine applicable next steps. This is critical to ensure that funds are dispersed timely and accurately. When navigating MD Chris, it's important that you click I certify these changes, as well as hitting submit. If you do not click the button and certify and hit submit, the changes will not be saved. It is important that you must hit that button, which is located at the bottom of the page. Upon filing a notice of intent to qualify in the Public Election Fund program, a campaign must establish a publicly funded campaign account to handle all activity during the publicly funded campaign. All of the prior bank accounts associated with the campaign must be frozen or closed during this time period. Once the Public Finance Committee is established through MD Chris and the bank account is established, you may begin to start collecting funds and become a certified candidate. No contributions received prior to the filing of the Notice of Intent will be considered a qualifying contribution. Additionally, you may be found in violation of engaging in campaign finance activity without having a registered political committee. It's important, if you're thinking about joining the program or participating, that you register your political committee first, then start collecting funds. The qualifying period for becoming a certified candidate begins on January 1 following the prior general election and ends 45 calendar days prior to the primary election that the candidate is participating in. For the 2022 election, the qualifying period will run from January 1, 2019 through May 14, 2022. Qualifying contributions enables candidates to become a certified candidate for public financing. Only qualifying contributions will be matched by the program. Qualifying contributions must be at least $5, but no more than $250, made by a county resident and made during the qualification period. Contributions must be acknowledged by a receipt that identifies the contributor's name, residential address, and be signed by the contributor directly or by a digital signature. To qualify as a certified candidate, a county executive candidate must collect 500 qualifying contributions with an aggregate of $40,000 and a district council member must collect 125 qualifying contributions with an aggregate total of $10,000. In addition to qualifying contributions, a candidate can receive eligible contributions. Eligible contributions can be from a non-county resident up to $250. Must have proof of receipt submitted to the State Board of Elections, can be an in-kind contribution of up to $250 in value and are not matched with public funds. Impermissible contributions. An applicant must not accept any contributions from groups or organizations, such as a private contribution from any group or organization, including a political action committee, a corporation, labor organization, or a state, local, central committee of a political party, a sole proprietor, or business such as an LLC, LLP, or an individual in an aggregate that is greater than the $250 limit during the 4-year election cycle. An applicant candidate may accept up to $12,000 in contributions or loans consisting of a combined total of not more than $6,000 from each of the following family members: the applicant candidate, a child who is at least 18 years old, a spouse, a parent, or a sibling. The loan is not eligible for matching public funds. Receipt of contributions. These are known as contribution cards. It must be a separate receipt obtained from the contributor with the contributor's name, residential address, and signed by the contributor directly or by a digital signature. The signature must match the name on the contribution in order to be considered a qualifying contribution. Digital signatures are on a document that will be provided to the State Board where the donor made an affirmative action acknowledging the contribution to the public finance candidate. This is more than just checking a box, but an action, meaning that the contributor must use some sort of affirmative typing when making the contribution. For example, evidence that the donor affirmatively typed in his or her initials or name at the time of making the contributions, understanding the law and its requirements for making the contribution. The supporting documentation of a digital signature must include a record with a timestamp of when the action occurred. The committee then would have to supply this document with all other evidence of the contribution that was made to the State Board in order to be matched. On this slide, you will see 2 examples from Montgomery County, which meet the requirement for a digital signature. Once you have received enough qualifying contributions, are you ready to qualify and certified to be in the program? The minimum requirements to qualify for public financing in Howard County are as follows. You need 500 individual qualifying contributions for a total of $40,000 for the Office of County Executive. County Council candidates need 125 individual qualifying contributions for a total of $10,000. The documentation needed for certification. You must have receipts for all qualifying contributions, meaning you need to have contribution cards for every qualifying contribution. The notice of intent, which was already filed when you established the committee. You must submit these documents in a campaign finance report, which will include the list of contributions received and loans received, expenditures made, and outstanding obligations still needing to be paid. Every activity that the political committee has done will be reported on these campaign finance reports. Additionally, you will need to file a certificate of candidacy for the correct covered office. This is filed at the County Board of Elections. It's important to file the certificate of candidacy first before filing the campaign finance report, because we will not be able to figure out the correct match until you actually file for the office sought. After receiving the information on the campaign finance report, the State Board will certify if the candidate has met the qualifications, no later than 10 business days after receiving the report. Recertification is not required if the candidate moves from the primary election to the general election. As a reminder, MD-CRIS will be used for all campaign-related reporting, including contributions and expenditures. MD-CRIS can be accessed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it can be located at www.campaignfinance.maryland.gov. To launch MD-CRIS, eligible users start by entering their username and password on the right menu. On the left menu, you will find choices for what you need to do. Select Enter Contributions, Transfers /In-Kind Contributions. Next, select the correct filing period, contribution type, and type of contributor. There is a type ahead feature for information that has been already entered in to avoid data entry mistakes. Please use the type ahead feature. This is important when you enter your contributions. This makes sure that the aggregate to date is correct. Finally, the last key element in filing campaign finance report through the program is linking receipts. Without the receipts, you will not be eligible to receive matching funds. Linking receipts is a two-step process. Step number 1, you need to scan receipts as individual PDF documents. You will then ask for the filing period, and you make sure that the correct transaction type is associated with the PDF, and you will save it onto the computer. From the left side menu, select Receipt Document, Step 1, Upload Receipt Documents. Select the filing period, transaction type, file name, and then you'll be ready to upload the files into the program. You can name the receipt whatever works for you, but if it is from an individual, it is easier to search if it starts with the contributor's last name and first name or initial, in case you have several Smiths that have contributed, for example. Where it says Upload File, click on the button for Choose File and navigate to the folder where you have saved the scanned documents to select it. You will repeat this step for each contribution or expenditure that you have. Once the receipt documents have been scanned and uploaded, you can move on to Step 2. If you have any doubt, the system will acknowledge that a receipt has been saved successfully. It will tell you on the search field below. If it does not appear in the uploaded receipts below, then the item was not saved and you will need to resave that receipt. Step 2. After all of the receipts have been uploaded into MD-CRIS, you have to then link the receipt to the corresponding contribution or expenditure. It's step-by-step instructions in the system. You start by selecting Receipt Documents, then select Step 2, Link Receipt Documents. Next, select Contribution or Expenditure. You have to make sure that you select the transaction type, i.e. contribution or expenditure, the filing period. Select either the contributor or the payee name field and start typing the last name. A drop-down box will appear for you to select the contributor. Under where it says Select All, check the box. Then click on the button to link. You can also tweak your search criteria to see transactions that have not been linked, transaction with linked receipts by contribution type, and even transaction date range. How to unlink receipts is similar to linking receipts, except once you've found the correct contribution or expenditure, it will say Select Unlink. Then the program will advise that the receipt is successfully unlinked. If a receipt was incorrectly linked or needs to be deleted, it can be deleted from this screen as well. Please select the trash can with the red X on the right side of the receipt. It will delete the receipt. This is a hard delete. Anytime you delete a data entered item, either a contribution, expenditure, or receipt, the system will delete it. It will not save it. There will be no chance for recovery, so use this judiciously. Expenditures are done the same way. From the left side menu, select Enter Expenditures and Outstanding Obligations. Then select the correct filing period and payee type. When entering the payee's information, a search is available by typing the payee's name in the Search Payee field. If the payee is found, the information can be automatically entered by clicking on the vendor. If the payee's information is not available through the search field, manually enter the payee's information as follows: business/organization, mailing address. There is also a type ahead field for vendors that have been already previously entered into the field. Reimbursements are entered slightly differently than a normal expenditure. You enter in both the reimbursee and the vendor into the system. Please remember the State Board of Elections Help Desk is available to answer any questions to help with data entry. One of the biggest questions that the State Board of Elections gets is what is considered an eligible expenditure by a political committee. The answer is it has to relate to election-related campaign activities and would not occur but for the fact the individual is a candidate. All political committees are required by law to file these campaign finance reports, including the 2022 annual report, the pre-primary 1 and 2. If you do not close your political committee after the primary election, then you will be required to continue filing reports as required by state law. Public financing committees will not go past the 2023 annual report. In fact, they will probably be finishing up in December of 2022 as their final reporting schedule. At the end of the campaign, the bank account associated with the public financing campaign must close and all remaining money returned to the county. Failure to file a campaign finance report on the due date will result in late fees against the political committee. The late fees, which could be up to $500, will be the personal liability of the chairman and the treasurer. The campaign finance entity may not pay late fees. Please note that the filing of these mandatory reports will also trigger a campaign finance report for certified candidates and will result in a disbursement from the county for any eligible contributions earned that have not yet been matched. Candidates that have not yet been certified by the State Board of Elections will not receive a matching disbursement for eligible contributions. Once a candidate has been certified by the State Board of Elections, matching funds are received by completing campaign finance reports through MD-CRIS. It is important to note that applicant candidates that have filed a notice of intent but have not been certified by the State Board of Elections cannot file optional campaign finance reports. These optional reports can be filed on the first and third Tuesday of the month, with a few exceptions. So, for example, a report that was due on August 3rd, 2021, the end transaction date would be August 2nd, 2021. It is important to note that these reports are optional. The committee does not have to file them. Because they are optional, there are no late fees associated with these reports. If a campaign doesn't file a report by the cutoff, any information entered will automatically roll to the next filing period for the committee. Lastly, it is important to note that some distribution reporting periods will deviate from the first and third Tuesday of the month. The reason for this is to coincide with the mandatory reporting schedule that was discussed on a previous slide. Please visit the Howard County Citizens Election Fund website for a complete list of campaign finance reports for the 2022 election cycle, which includes the adjustments to account for mandatory reporting deadlines. Distribution of public funds are calculated using the contribution schedule above. MD-CRIS will calculate the eligible match systematically for all contributions that are eligible to be matched with public funds. For example, if a county executive candidate receives an eligible donation of $10, he or she will receive $70 in matching funds. This calculation is based on $7 for every $1 contributed. Similarly, if a county executive candidate receives a $60 eligible contribution, he or she will receive $350 in matching funds for the first $50 plus $40, which is calculated by $4 for each of the subsequent dollars of the remaining $10 donation. Therefore, the grand total of the public match for the $60 contribution for the county executive candidate is $390. This calculation is repeated for all eligible contributions up to the max of either $700,000 per county executive candidate or $85,000 per council member candidate during the full election cycle. As stated on a previous slide, in order to receive the matching contribution from public funds, an optional campaign finance report must be filed using MD Chris. You cannot file it in any other manner. The reports can be filed up to 11:59 p.m. on the filing deadline. Only the chairman and treasurer are able to file reports as required by law. The candidate, other campaign staffers, and/or volunteers, if not one of those two responsible officers, may not file a campaign finance report. File closeout report means you wish to close the committee. This will only be done at the end of the campaign. It is important that you hit the red button. Then it will ask for your bank account information and ask for one of the responsible officers to certify that they are filing this under the penalties of perjury. At the end of the transactions, you will be able to print out the report. Additionally, you can go to View, Edit Registration Information under Filed Reports to see if the report has been filed right there as well. The report will be instantly put on the website for others to see. This is the period during which a qualified candidate may submit receipts for eligible contributions. Submissions are due no later than 11:59 p.m. on primary election or general election day. Receipt submission period ends June 28th and November 8th. This is the period during which a qualified candidate may submit receipts to the Board of Elections to receive public contributions from the fund. Submissions are due no later than 11:59 p.m. on primary election or general election day. After a review of the submission by the State Board, the Director of Finance for Howard County is then notified to deposit the authorized matching publicly funded campaign contribution into the certified candidate's publicly funded campaign account. Such deposit shall be within 3 business days after the State Board authorizes the public contribution. Key items needed so that the distribution is not delayed in getting processed are 1. The bank account and bank routing number. 2. The campaign tax ID number. Important. In order to prevent delays or errors, please ensure you are keeping the County Department of Finance updated with any changes to your bank account information. Diane Zagorski will be reaching out to each candidate upon the filing of Notice of Intent to collect this information. To get a new vendor set up, a copy of a voided check with the pre-printed name of the campaign will be required. Starter checks provided by your banking institution will not be accepted. The director must process all authorized public contributions by the due date and in the order they were received. Lastly, please note that depending on timing, the first distribution might be generated via a paper check. Please coordinate directly with the county for pickup arrangements if this were to occur. This period begins 365 days before the primary election and ends 15 days from the date of the general election in which the candidate is participating. The distribution period for the November 2022 election is from June 28, 2021 through November 23, 2022. And again, distribution requests may only be submitted on the first and third Tuesday of every month with a few exceptions. Please visit the Howard County Citizens Election Fund website for a complete list of campaign finance reports for the 2022 election cycle, which includes the adjustments to account for the mandatory reporting deadlines. The statutory maximum public contribution a certified candidate can receive is calculated together for the primary election and for the general election. For example, the maximum public contribution a certified candidate for county executive can receive is $700,000 in public contributions for the election cycle. But a reminder is that the election has to be contested to receive these matching funds. In order to receive public financing matching distributions, the candidate must be in a contested election, meaning that another candidate must appear on the ballot against that candidate. Contested elections do not include write-in candidates for determining eligibility for matching funds. Public campaign financing is only available to candidates participating in contested elections. A contested election is defined as an election in which there are more candidates for an office than the number who can be elected to that office. An election does not have to be contested in both the primary and the general election in order to be considered a contested election. The primary and general elections are separate elections, and the determination of whether an election is contested is made independently for each election. An election is contested if there are more candidates for the office than the number who can be elected to that office. For example, if there are 2 Democrats and 1 Republican running for a single county council seat in the primary, the Democratic primary election is contested, but the Republican primary is not contested. Assets that the candidate has paid for and received prior to the filing of the notice of intent to participate in the program can only be used in limited capacities. Otherwise, pre-purchasing by a non-public financing committee for campaign materials or items is strictly prohibited. Other prohibited uses of money include the personal use or expenditures related to holding office, paying for any personal endorsements of your candidacy, or payment of late filing fees. A public finance candidate may not make a transfer to any other candidate for elected office. It may not make any transfer to any other campaign finance entity in the state, including central committees. Additionally, the public finance candidate may not receive transfers from any other public financing entity, including central committees. This means the public finance candidate must use all of its funds for and directly related to their own personal election and the office that they are seeking. The candidate may not be a member of a slate while accepting public funds. They run on their own. If they want to share pieces of campaign material with other candidates, the candidate must pay the vendor directly for its appropriate share of the costs. It cannot use any campaign finance entity but as a vehicle for reimbursement. Also, their authority line must appear in the campaign material, so the candidate may not join a slate, and they must pay the vendor directly and have their authority line on the campaign material to prove they paid the vendor directly. A candidate may choose to withdraw from this program at any time. However, they must pay back to the fund all matching distributions that have been received during the primary and the general election since joining the program, including interest, within 10 business days. This form must be submitted to the Howard County Citizens Election Fund Commission at citizenselectionfund@howardcountymd.gov and the Maryland State Board of Elections. All unspent funds remaining in the campaign's publicly funded account at the end of their campaign, both matched and unmatched dollars, must be returned to the Public Election Fund within 30 days at the end of their campaign. For any systems or technology-related inquiries specific to MD Chris, please contact the MD Chris Help Desk. They are available by phone or email Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. MD Chris also has a user manual that can be found on their MD State Board of Elections website and the Howard County Citizens Election Fund website. Please direct any additional questions or inquiries to the Howard County Department of Finance. Diane Zagorski is the primary point of contact and can be reached by phone or email. Diane will work with you and the State Board of Elections to find answers to your questions. The following 4 slides provide a brief summary of the main points of the program. You may want to refer to them for a quick reminder of what is needed. Refer to the entire presentation, the CEF summary guide, and frequently asked questions for details.